Welcome back everybody to another video here with Chris today, and we are going over another deck breakdown, which today is going to be the Dr. Mew and General Realdo deck. I think this deck is very interesting. I don't know how good it's going to be. This is definitely a deck that's going to need a lot of testing and probably some sort of TP support in order for this deck to be competitive ready. But before we get into that, make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. If you guys want to support the channel, you guys can always go down in one of the links below and do so. So, with the leader here, this is sort of I don't want to say a reboot leader, because the original leader, although it had a very similar effect, it just wasn't. It also wasn't a General Realdo leader, right? That's the other big thing, right? Now, when this card attacks, you play up to one Machine Mutant with an energy cost of 1 from your hand, and when your life is at 4 or less, or you choose 3 cards from under a Super Sigma card in your battle area and place them under this card. You may draw 1, restand 1, and then take life down until you have 6. Now, if you've watched a few other deck breakdowns of this leader, everyone talked about how this leader should have gone down to 5 life, and I completely agree. I wish it had gone down to 5 life. I think that makes a huge difference with a deck like this. But again, we don't have that option, so we kind of have to build with what we have, right? On the other side, Dr. Mew and Hyper Meta Realdo. Auto once per turn when you activate an Evolve or a Union Absorb skill. You draw a card. When this card attacks, you play up to 1 Machine Mutant with an energy cost of 1 from your hand. And if you battle, place 1 card from under this in your owner's drop area. This card gets 5k for the battle. So this is the second leader that we've seen in this set that has the same effect, where they are able to pitch a card from underneath them to gain 5k. Now, we're going to go here into the deck video, and I'm going to explain kind of my choices for what I think the most competitive, viable version of this Dr. Mew General Realdo deck could be. So here we have the deck list, and I will break down each card individually. We'll just kind of go over each card as we go. So we have the set of 3-drop combination ready. These are a lot of the cards, essentially the cards you're going to be playing for free off of your leader effect, all of which have different abilities of being able to grab the opposite robot. So Nezzy here grabs Bizu, Bizu grabs Ribbit, and Ribbit grabs Nezzy. So the idea is that you play one of these, and essentially you are drawing a card, right? Like you're playing a card for free, and then the card, you then search your deck to then grab a target, one of these guys from your hand or your drop, or sorry, your hand or your, you grab them from your deck or your drop area and add them to your hand. Then you shuffle you shuffle your deck if you've gone through it. This being the best one because it is a barrier one, and also this is the only one that has the Union Absorb skill. As you see, these two do not. So when you play these, they don't have that effect, right? Now, when this one says Union Absorb, choose 1 Bizu and 1 Ribbit card from your hand and or battle area and place them under this card, and play up to 1 Super Sigma card from your deck or drop area on top of this card and shuffle your deck if you look through it. Auto, and then the same thing for the auto there. Now, the idea of this is to essentially play this, right? And then this card then searches out another one of these targets, right? And then hopefully you would have the other target in your hand as well, and then you can tap one to then barrier. You can tap one on the barrier guy to then go into the Super Sigma, which then has barrier blocker, and then this would allow you to essentially awaken turn 1, which I believe you are able to do in this deck, right? There's no conditions on that at all, right? Nope. You just gotta have 3 cards underneath them, right? So that is the whole effect. That's the whole idea of this deck, is to awaken as quickly as possible, right? Now you can do this very quickly. Like you can just, if you play this and you have the moves, you go right into this. And when this card plays, it draws you a card, and you choose all your opponent's battle cards and negative by 10k. And activate battle, you actually can play this card from your drop area if you absorb these 3 cards from your hand and or battle area. So you're also able to awaken that way as well. Actually, no, they actually wouldn't be able to awaken that way, but you can still play out the Super Sigma card and go into that shenanigans there. So that's pretty cool, right? So you're drawing a card, restanding an energy, and then you're taking life down to 6, and now you have a free energy open for you to be able to do whatever it is that you want with it. Another one drop that you actually can play off of this, because this is a Machine Mutant, is going to be the General Realdo combination ready. This card played, you search top 5 for a Machine Mutant. Essentially, this card is a substitute now for the Dr. Mew card that came out back with this set that was able to do sort of the same thing. Now this one also has a Unit Absorb effect on it, which you can then choose a Super Sigma card in your battle area or drop area, place underneath this card, and then play up to a 5-drop General Roto from your deck or hand on top of it, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. Or 2 energy, which is also very, very cool. We have a 1-drop General Roto, battle on planet M2. Same effect, when you play this card, you draw 1, then also has the Unit Absorb effect to play out a General Roto. We have Mechanized Planet, which is the new planet M2. This card also counts as planet M2 in all areas. If your leader is Dr. Mew, when this card is played in your placed in your battle area, you draw 2 and then discard 1 from your hand. This is better than the original planet M2 because that card just drew you a card. This will allow you to see 2 new cards, and you can get rid of a card from your hand. Has an activate battle as well. When you switch this card to rest mode, you choose one of your opponent's cards, battle cards, and you get minus 1k for the turn. Not as strong as the other one, which did 5k, but it is what it is. Just being able to cycle the 2 cards is way more important, I feel like. Now, we have 2 different targets for 5-drop General Rildos. So, this here, which is the Hyper Meta Rildo Combined Power. 25k blocker, and you can also evolve on top of a Super Sigma for 1 energy. If your leader is Dr. Mew, when this card is played, you draw 1. If you don't, you activate 1 Planet M2 from your deck and then shuffle. So the idea is that you play this for 1. It gains the evolve skill, right? And if you're on your awakened side, which should be very easy to do, you evolve into this. You then draw a card off your leader effect. You don't draw off of this, and then you play Planet M2, which then allows you to draw 2 more cards and cycle another card. So on turn 1, essentially, you can play a Nezi. Here you can search out the other. You can search out the Bizu. If you have a Ribbit in hand, you then can tap 1. So this is on your attacking turn, right? You play Nezi. When you attack, you play Nezi. Search out the Bizu. Activate the Unit Absorb. Play Ribbit. Play out the Super Sigma. Right. Draw another card. Awaken on your leader to restand the 1 energy and draw 1. Swing with this for 20k. And then you can evolve into Super Sigma. You actually don't even really have to swing with it. You can just play it to draw the card, and you can tap 1 to play Hyper Meta Rildo, which then you draw another card. And then you play Planet M2 from your deck, and you draw 2 more and you pitch another card. So you get a lot of cycling on turn 1 very, very quickly. This card also has another incredibly powerful effect. I think it's one of the coolest effects in this entire game. Is place 1 card from under this card in the drop area. You may choose one of your opponent's battle cards and add it to your opponent's life. If you do, switch this card to active mode. Why this card is cool? Because your opponent can just basically dump on a card, and this card is still on board and has its effects activated. They can pitch a card from underneath this to restand this card, and then put that card in your life. And that is incredibly difficult to deal with, because unless they remove this, which obviously there's a lot of cards that can remove a 25k battle card with no barrier at all, it's still something you have to keep in mind. If you can't remove this card, kind of screwed, right? The other General Rildo is going to be the leader of Planet M2, which is from the anniversary box from forever ago. Has activate main, choose up to 1 Nat, Bizu, and Ribbit card from your hand or battle area, and place them in the owner's drop area, and place a card from your hand. Once the card is played, if your leader is a machine mutant, you can activate 1 Planet M2 from your deck, activate it, and then shuffle your deck. Right, so this card also allows you to get out the Planet M2 card, which is cool, right? So just being able to have having just multiple targets for this 5-drop effect is very, very good. And then both of them have the ability to activate the Planet M2, which just gives you a lot of synergy. Next is going to be the Unison, Baby Juvenile Parasite. This Unison is bonkers, and as of right now, it does not have an SPR print as the making of this video. So this card does not get an SPR print. This card will probably be one of the most expensive cards in the entire set. Bar none, it will be one of the most expensive cards in the set. So if you buy a case of this set, and this is a card you pull and you're not going to play with it, hold on to it, because this card will probably end up being $20-$30. It's very, very easily. Permanent, if your leader is red and all your energy is in rest mode, your leader gains 1k. This is very powerful, so you can tap out, your leader then becomes a 16k. Having a free mini Sensu Bean, incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. Permanent, if this card would lose a marker from your opponent's attack, you may choose 1 card from under this card and place it in the owner's drop instead, which is incredibly good because the activate main says draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and place it under this card, and this card gets 10k for the turn. Yeah, so you can draw a card and remove a card on your opponent's board that they can't get back, and then this becomes a 20k. And then if they want to deal a damage, take a marker off this card, great. I'm just going to pitch the card I stole from you in your drop area, and you're not getting it back. That's really, really powerful. You combine this with the combination of having a Videl on board, which now since we have a 3-drop Unison, this becomes a board wipe essentially of 2 battle cards, 20k or less. You just play it and just incredibly powerful, right? You Spirit Boost one off of it, doesn't matter. This card's not ever going to die probably once it's done board. 4 Radded super combos. It's the best super combo for the deck. Being able to bottom deck 1 and draw 2 is just really good. Obviously not going to be live till you're at 4 energy, and testing the ops is also not live because we don't start at at 5 energy. So you basically have to take 1 damage, and if that, as long as that damage isn't a double strike, you're fine. But Gogeta Xeno, things that can swing double strike very, very early, it could end up being kind of a problem for you. So just something to keep in mind here. We also have 2 different 7-drop General Rildos. We have the new one, which is Ascended General. This is a 1-drop on top of a 5-drop or more General Rildo, which is double strike, barrier blocker. Activate battle. If it's your opponent's turn, you place 1 card in front of this card in the owner's drop area. Switch this card to active mode, and it gets -5k for the turn. And this is activate battle, not once per turn. So as long as you can pitch a card from underneath this card, you can continue to restand this guy. And he just is a multiple blocker that you can utilize. Thankfully, it's your opponent's turn, so you can't actually restand this guy and make him like almost essentially like a dual tag fighting against Fates that has double strike, right? That'd be very difficult to deal with. But the fact that he's just kind of a double blocker, it's pretty good. That's a pretty decent card. The other one is going to be Form Perfected. This one you evolve on top of a 5-drop General Rildo, and you place 1 card in your hand in the drop. It's a 30k double strike. Activate main, place up to 1 M2 from your hand or battle area in the drop area. You draw 2. Choose your opponent's leader, and it loses 5k for the turn. Then choose all your opponent's battle cards, and they lose 10k power for the duration of the turn. So it's kind of a mini board wipe. You throw this down, you neg your opponent's leader by 5, and now you can swing in and almost, if they're at 2 life, everything is lethal at that point because you already have an extra 5k combo for the turn because of this effect. Also, being able to draw you cards, it's a very powerful card. No defensive stuff at all, so that's why we only put 1 in here. So it's very, very easy to kill. It's very easy to counter as well, but the effect of the effect can come down, and the effect is pretty powerful. 1 Champa, it's pretty standard in most decks. The secret we picked for this deck is Kai. Because of the board wiping effect, I feel like that is very powerful. Also being able to remove Unisons because we don't have a lot of deflect boss monsters. So like blue is a very difficult thing for us to deal with. So being able to play Kai and then just tap 1 and warp everything on board, including the Unison, gives us a free go ahead into our kill turns. And then this card here, I think, is something that should be utilized in this deck at some point, which is Mutant Genesis. Sorry, not Genius. Mutant Genesis. Activate battle if your leader is a Dr. Mew, which you are a Dr. Mew on both sides. This card gets 15k power for the duration of the turn, the battle, and then choose up to 1 of your machine mutants at a cost of 2 or less and play it from your hand. So on defense, just being able to, like let's say you can't go first, right? Like you don't have the ability to attack first, right? So you tap an energy. If you don't have this in play, you don't have this General Rildo. You don't have this General Rildo. You're like, okay, cool. I just tap it and I just play an energy and pass, right? You can hold this up, especially for like aggro decks, like something like Gogeta Xeno, right? You play this, you go up to 25k on the turn, and then you play a 1-drop out, which then also gives you the effect of being able to search the other 1-drop out, right? So now you go into your turn with a free attack. You don't have, you don't have to attack to play your 1-drop out already, and then it just gives you another line of play, and that's a really good thing to do. Also, just being a 15k combo is very powerful. I think if this deck were to be incredibly good at some point, like tier 2, tier 1, whatever, this card is definitely gonna be something that's gonna be volatile in that deck. Now, before we get off the video here, I do have a second deck that I want to show you guys that I feel like is very interesting. I don't think it's nearly as good, but it is very interesting to kind of check out as a potential combo. So you see a lot of the same cards in here, but you see a lot of the baby stuff from set 4, the original set 4. And I think it's a very cool thing that you can possibly do in this deck because it is a machine mutant, right? So, first thing is the Baby Vengeance Unleashed. So this card here, you can absorb, choose one of your battle cards and place it under this card. If your leader is a red machine mutant, you choose up to one baby with an cost of 4 or less with the same character name as the card you place underneath this. Place it on top of this card and then shuffle your deck. So the idea is you play out the 4-drop, where is it at? You play out the 4-drop Saiyan Strength Baby. And this is a 20k double strike. When it's played, if your leader is a red machine mutant, you draw a card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and minuses by 20k for the turn. Then you basically play the Baby Chain, which you go into the 5-drop Super Baby 1, and then you can go into the 6-drop Apocalypse Grudge. Is it incredibly powerful? No, because every deck has a Realm of the God card that can remove this. But the idea is very fun. It's very, very fun, right? So essentially turn 1, if you go first, right, you can swing at leader, right? Play this Baby Mutant, because this is a 1-drop machine mutant. You play it, you swing for 10k, right? Then you tap 1 energy and you play Vegeta, right? Or, better yet, you can play Son Goku and Vegeta Jr., Saiyan Saiyans, swing with this, tap 1, play 2 Vegetas, swing with 2 Vegetas, right? Then you baby here into, you absorb one of the Vegetas, you then play out the 4-drop here, go into a 20k, draw you an extra card. Then you go into the 25k, draw an extra card, and then you swing 25k double strike, right? So you just swung with leader, 3 10ks, and a 25k double strike. That's a lot for turn 1, right? If this card can survive 1 turn, just 1 turn, you can then go into the 6-drop here, which Apocalypse Grudge is an incredibly powerful card, 30k triple strike when it's played. When this card attacks or your opponent attacks the battle card, you draw a card and you minus the card by 20k. It's very, very good. 30k triple strike is a lot to deal with. You also run Vengeful Blow, so if your 6-drop goes away, you can play this out. You can then absorb the 1-drop skills from the drop area, and then you go into a 30k, so you can either go to another Apocalypse Grudge or into the ultimate evil life form, which has offering when it's played. And then you can activate main to take a life, and your opponent leader loses 5k for the turn. So on turn 2, or whatever, like turn 2, turn 3, like you can have this card on board, take all your life down to 3 or 4, whatever you want to do, right? You can awaken, and then you just have a ton of different swings, different angles that you can do with this deck. So a lot of the stuff you see from the other version of the deck, a lot of the the combination ready cards, as well as part of the the Realdo engine. We also added this, the Triple Union Super Sigma. It's 20k double strike. Activate main, place this card in the drop area, draw 2, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10k for the turn. So the idea of this card is you can use this to go into the Super Sigma here, which then will allow you to awaken, do whatever, right? Then you can swing with this for 20k double strike, draw 2, pop it, draw 2, and just gives you an extra draw, right? But just some very cool mechanics that you can possibly do with this deck. I just wanted to show you guys the extra little spice version of this deck that I think there may be a weird aggro thing you can do with Dr. Mew that I think would probably include some of this stuff here. It seems very good, but like one real good spot removal card just kind of kills it, right? Because you just remove this guy or you remove the Apocalypse Grudge, and then now you have to rebuild everything. It becomes a little irritating, right? So just something to keep in mind. I think it is a cool idea. Do I think the deck is more the best red deck in the set? No. Do I think it's to be played a lot? No. I think people are going to experiment with it, and depending on what the TP promo is, because I think we're going to get a TP promo for this deck could end up being pretty decent. Just because it gets a TP though doesn't mean it's going to be very good. For example, something like Deborah, just kind of an average deck. The TP does make the deck better, but it's not something that makes it top tier. So thank you guys again for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and thank you guys for all the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.